Hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton and welcome to my YouTube channel. I want to talk a little bit about the redemption. Both Jews and Noahides have a very, very important role in bringing about the redemption and Mashiach. And the purpose of this video is to introduce you to a wonderful book that I actually am on my second copy. I had a copy of it for a long time and I've lent it around to various people, and so I had to order myself a brand new shiny one, and I love opening new books. Now this book is called To Perfect the World, and it's written by the Rebbe, and I'm going to explain to those of you watching this video who may not know who I'm talking about. So I am going to go through some of the contents of this book, and you can sort of see the depth and breadth of the important role that Jews and Noahides together as a team play in the redemption, and led by the Jewish nations. So let's have a little closer look at this. I will just mention, incidentally, this book is available through asknoah.org website, and I believe you can get it on Amazon as well. And I will put a link in the description box below where you can purchase a copy of this, which I urge you to do. Very, very interesting and informative information. A must-have on your bookshelf. Okay, so To Perfect the World. Now, this book was written or published in 2016, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. It's the book is the Lubavitch Rebbe's call to teach the Noahide code to all mankind. It's a compilation of excerpts from his letters and statements, etc., teachings of the Lubavitch Rebbe, and that's Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. Now, some of you, again, are going to be very familiar with this wonderful and learned man that sadly is no longer with us. And also this book was compiled and translated by Rabbi Yehoshaphat Oliver and edited by Michael Schulman, PhD, Dr. Michael Schulman. And a lot of you would be familiar with Dr. Michael Schulman's works and books, etc. Again, he is the centerpiece of the organization called asknoah.org. Very pro-Noahides, has done a tremendous amount of work in bringing information and teachings for Gentiles throughout the world, along with Rabbi Moshe Weiner, who has also written a letter in the introduction or preceding the introduction of this. I won't read the letter in its entirety, but of course some of you are very familiar with Rabbi Moshe Weiner. He is the author of the Divine Code, or in Hebrew, Sheva Mitzvah Hashem. So you are getting an understanding of the area that we're looking at. So we're primarily looking at what the Rebbe decided was very important, and how Jews should promote the Noahide commandments to their Gentile friends and neighbours, etc. And we urge them still to do that. But this book is primarily talking about how important the 7 Noahide laws are in bringing in the redemption. At one point in this book, it says that he felt if more people had been abiding by the Noahide commandments that were given to the Gentiles, the 7 commandments. They were reinforced and commanded at Mount Sinai, along with when the 10 commandments were given to the Jews. Now, the Rebbe says that had more people in the world been aware of the Noahide, being a righteous individual, having a righteous courts, having conscience and understanding through knowing and following the Noahide laws, had there been more people of that ilk, maybe the Holocaust may never have happened. And I think that's a very sobering thought, particularly for this generation and those to come, and even people of my generation who, I'm 70, so I was born after the Holocaust, but we learned about it at school and my parents talked to me about it, so I had a good understanding of it from a Gentile point of view. However, the tragedy of it is can never be erased from our minds, and perhaps that could have been avoided had more people not been aware of and living as a Noahide. So I will go on now with a little bit more about this. I did make myself a couple of notes. Now, it's divided into parts. There's actually 9 parts, and they've sort of got subheadings, etc. Now, my idea is just to give you a little taste of what this book is about, and urge you to get yourself a copy, because it's actually quite an easy book to read. And the thing that I like about this, it's sort of categorized in parts and chapters, etc. And you can pick it up and put it down without feeling you're going to lose your thread of concentration. So it's not a large book. I think it's around 300 or so pages. I'm not sure. About 350 or so, a few more pages than that. But anyway, let us go on. So as I said, this was printed in 2016, and these are from the letters and writings, etc., of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who is referred to as the Rebbe. So I'm going to read some of the topics. I'll give you an idea of what's contained in this book to whet your appetite, and also give you an understanding of the length and breadth that is involved in this book. And it talks about, in part 1, it talks about the obligation to promote the Noahide Code. And it talks about the classic teachings on the obligation for Jews to promote belief in God and the Noahide Code, lessons from great leaders in Jewish history, an obligation incumbent that's on the Jewish people. As the redemption nears, we have reached the time for safe and acceptable Noahide outreach, because remember, when the Jews were going through those terrible years of persecution, even before the Holocaust, it wasn't their very lives were in danger because of their own faith. If they'd have been out there speaking to Gentiles about the Noahide Code, not only would they have been in more trouble, the Jews, but also the people they were speaking to probably would have been as well. So you've got to get your head around. People say, oh, look, these Noahide laws have only just come out. No, they've been there since creation, since the Garden of Eden. It's just that over the years we have seen and know about all the tribulations and trials the Jewish people have had and their dispersion. And it's only in recent years that they've been able to come out and speak and encourage Gentiles with regard to the Noahide laws. So there's a lot of understanding to grasp about why people seem to think this is something new. It's not. It's been there before the 10 Commandments. And I have done many videos on my channel explaining that. So let's move on. So then it goes on, the benefits for Jews and Gentiles from Noahide outreach and observance, and of course that's self-explanatory. Part 2 talks about the Noahide code as an essential part of Torah, and it is. Let's not forget that. Significance and purpose of the Noahide code. The Noahide code in Kabbalistic perspective. The special days in the Jewish calendar that emphasise an increase in Noahide outreach. It goes on further and talks about the Rebbe's directives for Noahide outreach, and they included, this is in part 3, included how to effectively undertake outreach to Gentiles. Proper Jewish behaviour is a precondition for a Jew's involvement in Noahide outreach. Noahide outreach must be global in scope and strive to bring Gentiles to pious observance of the Noahide code. Jews must use their contact with Gentiles to promote observance of the Noahide code and uniting mankind through the peace, love, unity and kindness of the Noahide code. So there's quite a few things here. Moving into part 4, it says prayer, Torah, charity and moral education. That's the heading for the section. And it mentions here, and I'm just briefly reading some subtitles here. Belief in the one God precedes prayer and Torah study. Obligations for prayer in the Noahide code. Gentiles should study the Torah's Noahide code. Jews have a mission to teach God's will to mankind. Additional topics in Torah are relevant for students of the Noahide code, and Gentiles need guidance from Torah's moral lessons. The Torah's traditions for customs of mourning are relevant for all mankind. Encouraging Gentiles to give proper charity. Gentile children need belief in God, proper ethics and Noahide laws at home and at school. And so true, we do. We desperately need that. The need for a moment of silence in public schools, well, that's all but been eroded from a lot of schools now, or not just in Australia, but in other countries, which is a disgrace. It's actually... It's not about religious liberties or anything. It's just a whole lot of effort and nonsense going into removing God from the classroom. It's removing the conscience of the education department and all those in it, and the governments. Part 5 goes on and says the Rebbe's called to promote the Noahide code, and he says the Gentiles should promote the Noahide code and Torah-based policies for society. There's a need for persistence and initiative, overcoming challenges and obstacles. Immediate action is the main thing, so we've not got time to waste. And Noahide outreach is a vital preparation for the Messianic era. And a lot of Noahides are aware of that as well, but just timely we remind ourselves. Part 6 talks about applying Torah in world affairs, and it says Torah values in national and international policy, and Gentiles must respect and assist the Jews' ownership of the land of Israel. That's very important as well. Let's not forget that. That we not, the Jews are supporting us and the rabbis in promoting education and knowledge of the Noahide laws, but in return too, I mean, it goes both ways. We must be supportive of our Jewish brothers and sisters. Well, I suppose I should say cousins, but we Noahides, I believe, throughout the world would be very supportive to the Jewish people. Well, they should be. Part 7, it says, is about the Rebbe answering particular questions in like practical questions about how do you go about promoting the Noahide code to Gentiles, etc., and questions that might arise about the Torah law basis for promoting the Noahide code to Gentiles. Part 8 says there's 2 types of obligations in the Noahide code. And it talks about that. And then part 9 says open miracles experienced by Hasidic Rebbes make the nations aware of God. Now, there's also an appendix and quite a comprehensive glossary at the back of this book. Now, it says, I'll just read the back cover here because that kind of adds a little bit more general information. As the foremost global spiritual leader, the Lubavitch Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, emphasized that God commanded the Jewish people through Moses at Mount Sinai to influence the people of the world to absorb the Torah's 7 Noahide commandments. This mandate was transmitted through the generations and codified by Maimonides. Despite the key importance of this mission, Jews were unable to fulfill it during most of their difficult history, as I mentioned previously. The Rebbe explained that by divine providence, the freedoms of religion and speech in our modern societies make it possible now, and thus obligatory, or obligatory, you can pronounce it. It's obligatory for Jews to now be involved in spreading out this much-needed universal message, but was any guidance provided for how to pursue this? In fact, the Rebbe directly addressed the following questions and more. So this is getting to why this book is important. What is the basis in Torah for this outreach? What is the pious path for Gentiles in God's eyes, and what parts of Torah should they learn? And who should be involved in this outreach? So this book presents a systemic compilation of the Rebbe's many teachings and directives for Jews and Gentiles as well, about how to widely promote belief in God, observance of the Noahide Code, and acts of goodness and kindness. So that is a very, very brief look at the contents of this book. Now, I had considered doing some separate videos going through it step by step, but I really think because it is, I believe, and it flows very easily, and it's the sort of book you'd probably come back and reference many times as well for little bits of information. It's very easy to read. It's a book the whole family can understand. And as I said, this is my second copy, brand new. But please consider buying yourself a copy. If you are a Noahide, you may already have a copy, but if not, get one. And secondly, if you are interested in the Noahide laws and finding out more about them, then this is also a good book to have as a resource. So don't forget again, there are copies available through asknoah.org or Amazon. There'll be a link in the links in the description box below. So thank you for watching my video, and I look forward to presenting some more in the next few days to you. I also want to thank everyone who's been so very kind, and especially those who've taken the trouble to email me and wish me good health and recovery from a recent fall I had. I thank you all so very much. It really has humbled me and touched my heart. Thank you all for your prayers. I'm coming along slowly, but surely I'm getting there. In the meantime, I want you to please take care, and God bless you all.